Hi readers, I'm Rachel from Never Enough Novels. All my fellow Bridgerton fans, today's book list is for you. I have been waiting very impatiently for season 2 of Bridgerton to come out on Netflix, and it's finally almost here. If you haven't heard, get ready because the 25th of March will be the release date for season 2. Get your tea and biscuits ready for a Bridgerton binge-filled Friday night. As you might know, the Netflix series is based on a lengthy book series by Julia Quinn. She is one of the queens of the historical romance genre, so her backlist extends far beyond the Bridgerton books. But if you're like me, it really took the TV series for me to give historical romance a chance. I'm still working my way through all of the Bridgerton books. I'm actually currently reading book number 4 right now, but it has certainly piqued my interest in the genre. So for this book list of books like Bridgerton, I scoured historical romance sites and blogs to find those historical romance novels that have the same passion and drama, wit, and just all around fun that encompasses the Bridgerton world. I'm going to do a quick run through of each title so that I can share 10 books like Bridgerton with you today. So let's make haste! First up, I have a book called Reputation by Lex Croucher, and this is a 2022 new release. It's been described as Bridgerton meets Mean Girls, so I figured it would be the perfect book to start off this book list. Georgiana is a young girl who was sent to the countryside to stay with her aunt and uncle, and she is bored out of her mind there until she meets society it girl and all-around drama queen Frances. Frances takes her under her wing and drags her along to all of these lavish parties where there's lots of drinking, where boys and girls are commingling, basically bringing Georgiana completely out of her shell into a world that she's never experienced before. And since Georgiana is of a much lower social class and, frankly, really bored with her aunt and uncle, she's willing to just go along with whatever Frances and her friends want to do. At least until Georgiana meets a boy, and this boy doesn't really approve of Frances and her friends, so it forces Georgiana to really start thinking about what she wants out of life and whether this lifestyle that Frances has is something she really wants to do for a long time, or if she wants to stay true to her values and follow the interests of this boy that she really likes, who actually seems like a good match for her. This book has a historical setting, but it has a lot of issues that still are relevant now. So this is a great first addition to my books like Bridgerton list. And it comes out in April of 2022, so you can pre-order it now and read it right after you're done binging the season 2 premiere. As a reminder, you can find links to all of the books that I'm mentioning throughout the video in my description below. Next up, I've got Bringing Down the Duke by Evie Dunmore. Evie Dunmore is the author of a few historical romance novels, and they read like contemporary romance but take place in that historical setting that we love. So this book is the first in the League of Extraordinary Women series, and it focuses on women's suffragette in London. Annabelle has joined the suffragette cause, and she is tasked with winning over some influential men to their cause. Her assignment is the very traditional Duke of Montgomery, who has no interest in the suffragettes. And they can't deny there is some fiery passion between them, despite both of them detesting the idea of actually being together. I love that this book brought the women's suffragette movement to life as a backdrop for a romance novel. If you're enjoying my book recommendations, please subscribe to my channel below, and you can get all of my latest book lists as soon as they're published. Now, let's get into some classic, well-known historical romance authors. First up, I have a book called Cold-Hearted Rake by Lisa Kleypas. This has a lot of the matching wit and fiery passion that we love from the Bridgertons. Our proclaimed rake, Devon, is suddenly saddled with a huge responsibility of an earldom. So he now is responsible for this large estate, as well as the late Earl's widow and her sisters that still live there. Kathleen is one of those sisters, and Kathleen knows better than to give her heart over to some sort of rake, so she has no interest in Devon coming in and interrupting their lives. But Devon can't seem to get enough of her, and Kathleen will have to decide if she's willing to give up her preconceived notions and maybe give over her heart to this man who she just can't resist. Next up, I have The Duchess Deal by Tessa Dare. Now, this has a relationship of convenience, which is similar to season 1 of Bridgerton when Simon and Daphne follow the same path. The Duke of Ashbury has just returned from war, and he finds himself with a new assignment: make an heir. Well, when he returns to his house, lo and behold, there is a seamstress in a wedding gown just waiting in his library. So he figures, problem solved. They agree to this facade of a marriage with the sole purpose of producing an heir. But Emma has some terms of her own, and that include actually getting to know each other a bit. This is such a fun give and take between the two, and is definitely reminiscent of Daphne and Simon from season 1 and book 1 of the Bridgertons. Next up is Brazen and the Beast by Sarah McLean. Here you're going to find that delicious enemies to lovers tension, just like Anthony and Kate from season 2 of Bridgerton. Just like Kate, Hattie has her own goals for life, and they certainly do not include marriage. She commits herself to the year of Hattie, where she will experience all of life has to offer before she officially settles down as a spinster. When a delicious looking man happens into her carriage, she figures here's the perfect start to understanding what she's going to miss out on. They immediately start clashing over power and pleasure and their plans, and neither one is willing to give in. So this is a matter of whether they can both get over themselves and decide if this different path than they expected is actually what's best for them. Coming up next is Duke of My Heart by Kelly Bowen. As we all know, scandal strikes fear in the heart of every Regency family, and it's no different from Captain Maximus. So when he returns from a voyage and finds that scandal has struck his own family, he immediately has to find somewhere to turn to fix the problem. In steps Miss Ivory Moore. Now, Ivory essentially runs the version of a historical PR firm. Her job is to handle scandal, and she has yet to meet one that rattles her. So it's no different when she meets Captain Maximus and gets to work. But while she's handling his family problem, all he can think about is her. I love that we've got a historical take on the workplace romance trope, and this features a woman from back then who is running her own business. It sure sounds like a delight. Speaking of scandal, our next book is literally titled A Summer for Scandal. And if you love Lady Whistledown, this is one of the books like Bridgerton that's perfect for you. Amelia is the author of a popular series, but she keeps her identity anonymous, similar to Our Lady Whistledown, to avoid any scandal on her part. Meanwhile, Reuben takes on a secret side project for a gossip periodical, and he finds that the more he lays into this series, the more attention he gets. He becomes determined to find out who the author is and break this big news story, but he can't seem to discover who's behind the words. It's so much harder to keep a secret when they end up meeting each other at a boating party, but neither knows who the other is, at least at first. Up next, we have Have and Two Hoax by Martha Waters. I love that this book features an already married couple, which is certainly something unique you find in romance novels. It's been 4 years since this big fight, and Lady Violet and Lord James have not spoken a word to each other since. When a mistake leads Lady Violet to worry for her husband's safety accidentally, she's determined to get him back. And this leads to this war of one-upmanship between the two that just goes on and on. But among all these theatrics, they actually begin flirting with each other, and they start to wonder if they really ever want to go back to this life apart. The Bridgerton family that we know and love is full of antics and teasing each other, so this has that great familial relationship that we love about the Bridgertons. Bear with me, this next novel isn't actually a historical romance, but I promise it has the same passion and wit and just overall values that you find within the Bridgerton books. This novel is The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. Our main character is Kristen, and she is dealing with some infertility issues, so that has colored a lot of her relationship in the past. Well, as she's planning her best friend's wedding, she meets the best man, Josh. And Josh is your typical perfect guy, but he goes on and on about how much he wants kids. Kristen knows that nothing can ever happen between them, and they decide to be just friends. But later, tragedy strikes, and Kristen has to decide if she is willing to give up some of her preconceived notions about Josh and be willing to accept the love that he's offering. By the end of this book, I was so emotionally invested that I was sobbing on the couch. I absolutely love these characters, and this book is the first in a trilogy, so it's a series just like Bridgerton is, and gives you a chance to relive these characters and their friends for a few more books to come. And last but not least, I have to mention the Bridgerton books, of course. This is a rare circumstance where the book series and the TV series are equally phenomenal. There are a total of 8 official books in the Bridgerton series. Each follows one of the Bridgerton siblings, but you also have a few prequels and a Lady Whistledown's Guide to Society, so there is a ton of content to consume if you love these characters. You'll find endless ways to get lost in the Bridgerton world, and I highly recommend you do so. I hope you're just as excited to watch season 2 as I am, and you find a few books from this list that you'll enjoy after you're done watching the show. Comment below and let me know which of the books you're most excited to read. Or if you've read any of the Bridgerton books, let me know which one is your favorite.